It started like any other delivery run, dull cold, and just a little too quiet for comfort. I was working the late night shift again for DineNow, one of those food delivery apps where you take whatever order pops up and try not to think too hard about where you're going. Friday night shifts were always a little weird. Something about people getting restless after a long week. The city never really slept, but past midnight it started changing. You'd see fewer people on the street, and the ones you did see stared at you too long. Lights flickered more, stray dogs barked at nothing. That night I remember clearly because it was the last normal delivery I ever made. At exactly 1:12 a.m. I got a ping. Order No Way 4D F913 late night combo meal. Paid. Tip 12 zeros. Address 1313 Old Crooked Lane. The name of the street didn't register. I'd never heard of Old Crooked Lane, and I'd been doing this for almost a year. I pulled over under a dim street lamp and checked Google Maps. Nothing. I mean that literally there was no Old Crooked Lane. I tried Waze, Apple Maps, even some weird Reddit forum for urban explorers. Nothing. The closest match was Crooked Hill Road, about 6 miles out, near the abandoned mill. I figured it might be a typo, maybe a prank. But then the app's internal GPS loaded a route. Not on the official map, just a faint gray line like a ghost road, overlaid on top of nothing. Normally, I would have declined, but the $12 tip on top of a base pay, and with my rent overdue, well, let's just say desperation has a way of killing good judgment. So I followed it. The road to nowhere. The directions led me through a decaying industrial district, broken windows, graffiti, entire buildings swallowed by ivy and shadows. I passed a junkyard where some kind of animal watched me from atop a pile of rusted cars, eyes glowing, unblinking. The road narrowed, then turned from asphalt to gravel, then dirt. My car protested every bump. Branches scraped along the windows like bony fingers trying to get in. The fog rolled in quick and heavy, covering my windshield like a curtain, even though the forecast said clear all night. I should have stopped. I should have turned around. But the blue dot on the app kept pulsing, leading me deeper, deeper until I reached the dead end. Or rather, the beginning. 1313 Old Crooked Lane. At the end of the road was a house, but house doesn't quite capture it. It was wrong, like it had been designed by someone who'd only seen houses in their nightmares. The architecture didn't match any style: Gothic turrets, crooked porch, slanted roof that bent in the middle like a broken spine. No mailbox, no lights, no number on the door. Yet my phone flashed, "You have arrived at your destination." I laughed nervously, but it came out dry and shaky. There was no car in the driveway, no tire marks, no signs of recent life, just dirt, dust, and silence thick enough to choke on. I double-checked the app. The order was real. The name on it, Mira E., no last name, just Mira E. There was a note: "Please leave food on porch. Do not knock. Do not speak." Okay, creepy, but fine. I took the warm paper bag, walked up the steps, they creaked like bones snapping under my weight, and placed the food down. My breath misted out in the air, despite the fact it was late spring and the temperature should have been comfortable. I turned to leave. That's when the front door opened. She wasn't human. It opened slowly, no sound, just that quiet, deliberate movement that suggested something knew I was there. I froze. Every instinct screamed, "Don't turn around." But I did. There she was. Mira, or at least something that wore her name. She stood in the doorway, barefoot, pale as chalk. Her eyes were wide, too wide, and black from corner to corner. No whites, no pupils, just black. She smiled. Her teeth were wrong, not sharp, not jagged, just too many. A second row behind the first. I couldn't breathe. She didn't step out, only raised one finger to her lips. A slow, deliberate shh. Then she spoke. "You shouldn't have found this place." I ran. Back to the world. I didn't stop running until I hit the car, threw myself in, and peeled out so hard my tires dug up dirt. The GPS freaked out, the screen spun, flashed, then shut off. The road behind me didn't exist anymore. I drove blind, trying to retrace my route. The fog cleared somewhere near the city line, like it was never there. I pulled into a gas station, shaking, sweating. My phone buzzed. One new message: order complete, $0 tip. That wasn't what scared me. What scared me was the photo attached, one taken from inside my car, showing me sprinting back from the porch, and Mira standing behind me, her hand raised in a wave. The timestamp 3 minutes ago. When I reported it, I tried calling the police. They thought I was high. Maybe I was. But I know what I saw. I tried reporting the address. There was no record. Not with the city. Not with the postal service. Not even with satellite images. 1313 Old Crooked Lane doesn't exist. But the app still keeps it in my completed deliveries. A gray entry I can't delete. A ghost in the system. Sometimes late at night I get pings again. Order Ash Epatovkurdi F913. Same name, same address, but I never accept. Not anymore. 3 nights later I was back on the road. Not by choice. Rent was still due. My fridge was still empty. And despite everything I'd seen or thought I'd seen, the app kept accepting my login like nothing had happened. No red flags, no warnings. Almost like they wanted me to keep delivering, so I did. But with new rules. 1. Never accept deliveries without a verifiable address. 2. Never take an order past midnight. 3. And never ever open the app if you feel like you're being watched. That night, it was raining. Not the kind of soft drizzle that makes you want to write poetry. No, this was aggressive pounding like the sky wanted in. My phone buzzed from the dashboard. P1NG, new order available. I ignored it. Another buzz, and another. I sighed, wiped my face, and glanced at the screen. Order Mari44D F913, paid $25 tip. Delivery time ASAP. Address 1313 Old Crooked Lane. Note, I remember you. My blood turned to ice. I slammed the phone face down. No, I whispered. Hell no. But then something changed. Another buzz, but this time from my second phone, the burner. I only ever used it for emergencies. The message on it wasn't from any app. It was a text. Do not let him go. He accepted it. I stared. My heart slammed against my chest. I picked up the phone, hands shaking, and typed, "Who accepted what?" Reply, "Your coworker." The new guy, Devin. He's on his way to 1313. Stop him, or he won't come back. The rookie, I didn't know Devin well. He'd started about a week ago, fresh-faced, optimistic. Still thought this job was temporary, a side gig before something real. I remembered him telling me during a break that he liked driving at night. Said it was peaceful. Yeah, peaceful until the darkness looks back. I tried calling him. No answer. I texted, "Don't go to the address. It's a trap. I've been there." Still nothing. Panic set in. I got in my car and drove, like hell, back into the fog. The gravel path hadn't changed. Branches still clawed at my windshield. The air was still unnaturally cold. But this time I wasn't following a map. I was following something else: instinct, dread, memory, maybe even guilt. I didn't know what I'd do when I got there. Warn him, pull him out, beg him to leave. But as I turned the final bend, I saw it. His car, parked, engine still running, driver door wide open, and the house. Only this time the lights were on. Inside the house, I should have run. Every fiber of me screamed, turn back. But I approached the house slowly, rain soaking through my jacket shoes, squishing in the mud. "Devin!" I shouted. No answer. I stepped onto the porch. The food bag he'd brought was still there, soaked through. The door was slightly ajar, and from inside, a voice, low, rhythmic, chanting, not English. I pushed the door open. What hit me first wasn't the visuals, it was the smell, like rot, like time, like something had died, been buried, and dug up again. The hallway was dimly lit by candles, no bulbs, no fixtures, just dripping wax, flickering shadows. On the walls, photos of delivery drivers, Polaroids, faces, pale eyes wide, each labeled with a date and a word. Most were labeled lost, one or two said stayed. Then I found a blank spot, a nail, waiting for another photo. Devin's fate. I heard his voice before I saw him. Soft stuttering. Terrified. Please, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I turned a corner and found him on the floor, knees drawn to his chest, staring at something across the room. And standing above him, her, Mira, but changed. Her eyes were now mirrors, not metaphorically, literally. Reflective silver showing my own horrified face back at me. Her smile stretched farther than before, unnatural, inhuman. I stepped in front of her, let him go. She tilted her head. He came willingly. As you did. He didn't know. No one does. Her voice was like silk over razors. That's the point. I grabbed Devin's arm. He flinched, but didn't resist. We're leaving. No, she whispered. Not this time. She raised a hand, and the walls began to breathe. I'm not being poetic. The actual plaster expanded and contracted. Like lungs, the wood groaning, moaning. The house was alive, and it didn't want us to go. The escape, I pulled him up and ran. The hallway seemed to stretch, longer doors multiplying. The candle flames flickered blue, then red, then black. A whisper chased us. If you leave, you'll forget. If you forget, you'll come back. I didn't know how we got out. I remember bursting through the front door. I remember the porch collapsing behind us like it didn't exist anymore. And I remember driving, both of us silent, soaked, shaking. When we hit the main road, the fog disappeared. Devin hadn't said a word. Not until we reached the gas station where I'd stopped days earlier. Then he turned to me and asked, "Do you think she followed us?" I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure. The system glitch. Later that night, I checked the app. Devin's delivery marked as completed. Tip $0 note. We'll see you again. The job never existed. No payment was issued, but in my inbox, a new notification. You've unlocked a special delivery route. VIP orders now available. Location hidden, time unknown. Access you, only you. Something changed. The app never forced a delivery before, not until now. It started when I opened DineNow at 2:07 a.m., something I swore I wouldn't do again. But curiosity, as it always does, overpowered fear. I just wanted to see if the weird address was still in the system. Maybe even delete the app for good. But instead of the usual map and orders, I saw a black screen with white text, VIP route unlocked. System sync complete. You have been selected. ETA 02:13 a.m. Route will initiate automatically. You cannot decline this order. Thank you for your loyalty. And just like that, my car started by itself. I swear on whatever soul I have left, I never touched the key. The headlights turned on. The dashboard lit up with a directionless compass spinning like it couldn't find true north. The GPS said one word, glitching in and out. Deliver. Destination nowhere. There was no destination on the screen, no food to pick up, no customer name. Just a pulsing waypoint floating in the middle of a blank black map. Every turn I took was corrected. Every U-turn blocked by sudden construction or road closures. It was as if the city conspired to guide me. I wasn't driving anymore. I was being delivered. Finally, around 2:46 a.m. I arrived. It wasn't a house this time. It was an old train station, or what used to be one. Abandoned, crumbling, overtaken by weeds and time. No lights, no signage, just a stone arch with half a word faded into the wall. Urn on. I stepped out. The app chirped, arrived. Begin delivery, take the item. My back seat opened by itself. Inside was a box I'd never seen before, metal, padlocked about the size of a microwave. No label, no food smell, just cold, very cold. Inside the station, I should have left it there, but the app kept buzzing. My phone grew hot in my hand. Then a message: if the package stays, you don't. I took the box. The station groaned as I entered stone, shifting like joints cracking after long disuse. Dust fell like snow. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have. The station was long dead. No trains, no people, just echoes. And one sound that didn't belong. Whistling, low, slow, familiar like a lullaby hummed out of tune. I followed it. There were signs of recent presence, fresh footprints in the dust claw marks along the old ticket booth counter. A newspaper from 2027 sat untouched on a bench. That wasn't possible. It was only 2025. Wasn't it? I checked my phone. No signal. The date had disappeared. The delivery window down in the lowest part of the terminal was an old subway entrance gated off by rusted bars that looked like they hadn't opened since before I was born. But now they stood wide open, and something waited in the dark. Not a person, not exactly. It wore the uniform of a DineNow driver, the old logo from before the rebrand stained and threadbare. Its name tag said Caleb, but his face, if you could call it that, was covered by a cloth sack. He raised one skeletal finger, pointed at the box, no words. I held it out. He took it. His fingers were too long, too pale, like roots left in darkness too long. He turned, stepped into the shadows, and vanished. The app chimed again. Delivery successful. Bonus unlocked. Would you like to receive your reward? Yes. Oh. No. I pressed no without thinking, but the screen didn't respond. It blinked. You already have. The package that followed me. I got home just before sunrise. My phone was dead. The app wouldn't open. And I had this nagging itch like something had followed me back. A presence I couldn't see but felt in every reflection, every shadow that lingered too long. I went straight to the shower, trying to scrub the chill off me. But when I looked in the mirror for just a second, I saw Caleb, not in front of me, instead of me, wearing my face and smiling. Devin is gone. I called Devin the next day. Number not in service. I went to his last known address. New tenants. No one named Devin ever lived there, they said. I showed them a photo. They said, that's not him, but their tone was off. Like they were reading a script. I went back to the app. Devin's profile was gone, erased, but mine had a new badge. Silver tier, loyal deliverer, 3-7 completed 3 out of 7. What the hell did that mean? I scrolled further. Each delivery had a date, a time, and a cryptic line beside it. 1. 1313, Old Crooked Lane. Initiation. 2. Devin's rescue. Witness. 3. The station delivery. Binding. The next one, Route 4. The place between houses. Status pending time window. 33 a.m. tonight. What I've learned. This is not a game. This is not a bug. The app is alive. Or maybe something inside it is. It learns. It adapts. It feeds. Every delivery isn't about food. It's about you, your time, your path, your fear. And if you finish all 7, I think you become like Caleb. Not dead, not alive, just trapped, delivering forever. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to attempt Route 4, not because I want to, but because I need to know what happens if I make all 7 deliveries. If you're reading this and you've received a delivery from someone with a blank name tag, don't answer the door, especially if they don't knock, especially if they already know your name. The clock strikes 3:33 a.m. They say 3:33 a.m. is the devil's hour, the time when the veil is thinnest, when things from the other side can slip through. It's also when I received my next notification. Route 4 unlocked, destination, the place between houses. Time window. Now customer has been waiting a very long time. There was no map this time. No GPS, just an arrow that pointed forward no matter where I turned. And the worst part, I was no longer in control of the car. driving into nowhere. The world outside my windshield blurred, not like speed, but like time itself was unwinding. Streetlights stretched too long. Stop signs melted at the corners. Trees leaned toward me as I passed their shadows, reaching for the tires. I tried to brake. The pedal resisted, like it didn't recognize me anymore. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything went still. I was parked on a perfectly normal suburban street. 2 rows of identical houses. Symmetrical, peaceful fake, like a film set. The street sign read, "Nowhere Lane." The space that shouldn't be. As I stepped out, I noticed it. A gap between 2 houses, not an alley, not a fence. Just a slit. Too narrow for a human to pass through, or at least that's what it looked like. But when I got closer, the space widened. Only for me. It was like the world breathed in, making space for this next step I didn't want to take. A whisper brushed my ear. "He's still waiting." I stepped in, and the world behind me vanished. Between realities, the passage expanded into a hallway that bent in impossible directions, like walking through a Mobius strip folded into itself. Doors lined both sides. Some pulsed like hearts. Others bled light under their frames. I passed one with the sound of sobbing behind it, another with laughter but warped and distant. Finally, I found it. A door marked "Thu'u-Tala." It wasn't wood, it was skin. When I reached for the handle, it felt warm and it shuddered under my touch. Knock and enter. I didn't knock. It opened anyway. The customer inside was a room with no walls, just fog, and in the center a table. At it sat a man or something shaped like a man with no mouth, just skin where a mouth should be. But his eyes, they knew me. And I realized something terrible. He looked just like me. Not vaguely, exactly. Hairline, scar above the eyebrow, birthmark on the neck, but older, tired, hollow. He pointed to the table. On it, a delivery bag, still warm. I opened it. Inside wasn't food. Inside was a note written in handwriting. I recognized immediately. "You accepted all the routes. You delivered what we needed. Now it's time for your turn. Sit, wait, receive." I dropped the bag. The man across the table nodded once, then began fading like smoke, taking me with him. The transfer I fought. I screamed, I ran, but the fog had turned solid, a prison of memory and looping streets. Every turn led back to that room, back to the seat. The chair began whispering, "Just one moment, one eternity, one more." I blacked out. When I woke up, I was standing in someone's living room, holding a food bag. A man answered the door, half asleep, annoyed. I handed him the delivery. He blinked. Didn't I just get this? Like an hour ago, I turned and walked back to the car. Something was wrong. The world felt off, too sharp, too quiet. I drove home expecting to find my apartment. Instead, I found a mirror. No building, just a massive mirror standing upright in a field of black grass. My reflection smiled, but I didn't. It reached out, and I realized I was now the delivery. New rules. The app opened on its own. You are now a permanent courier. Routes will find you. No need to accept. You are always active. Deliver, deliver, deliver. The phone locked. My reflection stepped closer. A new player. His name was Marcus Lee. 22, college dropout gig worker by necessity, not passion. He wasn't looking for anything that night, just a place to charge his dying phone. Somewhere quiet, somewhere warm. He found an unlocked car, silver sedan, dusty, parked at the edge of a 24-hour gas station, tucked behind the dumpster. The inside was cold, way too cold for summer. The front seat had a faint indentation, like someone had just left. But the car was empty, or so he thought. In the cup holder, a phone, still glowing. The lock screen read, DineNow delivery, active shift, Route 5 in progress. Curious Marcus tapped it. The screen unlocked automatically. No password, no Face ID, no resistance. And then he saw it. Deliver the package route, homecoming status. Awaiting courier recipient. Unknown item contained ETA. Now there was a message flashing at the bottom. Do not open the bag. Do not look at it. Do not speak to it. Marcus looked around. And that's when he saw it in the back seat. The bag. It looked like an ordinary insulated food bag, but it pulsed, like it was breathing. A tag was attached, property of DineNow courier ID, null security clearance, overridden. Marcus didn't know what any of that meant, but he did know one thing: he should have run. Instead, he picked up the bag. It whimpered. The first delivery. The app took over. The GPS updated itself with a destination: Willow Street. End of line. The map showed a single house, isolated with no neighbors. The surrounding streets were grayed out, like a power outage had swallowed the area. The weather report said clear, but as Marcus drove, a storm rolled in, except it was only raining over his car. The sky everywhere else, clear as crystal. That was when the voices started, soft, muffled, from inside the bag. At first it was just static, then sobbing, then a language he didn't know but somehow understood. It said, "Let me out." He pulled over. The bag squirmed in his lap. A zipper twitched open by itself barely an inch, and an eye looked up at him, blinking. Human, maybe. He screamed, slapped the bag shut, tossed it to the floor. The app chirped, "Warning, do not damage the package. Severe consequences may apply." He was already shaking, but he drove on. Willow Street. The house looked abandoned. Broken shutters, paint peeling, one window boarded up with a child's drawing nailed into the center. A stick figure crying. The driveway was cracked, the lawn overgrown, but the porch light flicked on the moment he parked, like it was waiting. The app beeped, "Deliver the bag to the door. Do not wait, do not turn around." Marcus grabbed the bag, feeling the contents squirm again softly, humming. He climbed the porch, knocked. No one answered. He placed the bag down, turned, and then behind him the door creaked open. Not all the way, just a sliver, just enough for a hand to reach out. Not a normal hand, thin, too long, fingers like wires. It dragged the bag inside, slowly, tenderly, like cradling a newborn. Marcus didn't wait. He ran, but as he got into the car, the phone buzzed again. "Thank you for your service. Bonus tip, $0 status. You have been claimed back at the gas station." Marcus sped back to where he found the car, heart racing. He left the keys in, left the phone on the dashboard. But the moment he stepped out, he felt it. The car was watching him. He turned around. The phone screen lit up: new delivery request recipient, Marcus Lee Courier, null package ETA, en route, do not run. He looked to the road, and from the distance, far but getting closer, came a second car, identical, same model, same dust. Only this one had no headlights, and it wasn't driving, it was sliding, like gliding across reality, no sound, no one inside. Yet it came for him. Marcus tried to leave. He ran into the gas station. The attendant didn't even blink. Marcus screamed for help. The man simply turned the page in his magazine and said, "You shouldn't have picked up the phone." Marcus looked back. The other car had arrived. Its door opened. Nothing came out. But the world tilted. Everything slowed. The gas station began to melt. Shelves stretched into the ceiling. The door became a mouth. And the last thing Marcus saw was the phone in his hand lighting up with a new message. "Delivery complete, customer is satisfied. You are next. System access breached." It had been 3 nights since the station. 3 nights since I escaped the place between houses, or thought I had. I hadn't taken another delivery. I hadn't opened the DineNow app. I even changed my phone. New number, new carrier. But that night at 3:03 a.m., the phone vibrated on the bedside table. It wasn't the new phone. It was the old one, the one I threw in the dumpster behind the diner, the one I watched burn in a steel barrel, its plastic bubbling screen cracking. But there it was, Cold, buzzing, alive. The screen flickered once, then settled. System message origin unknown. Node ID Marcus Lee 3F. Message received. Intercepted transmission. Then a sound began playing. The voice. It was distorted at first. Metallic, like a voice run through layers of static and pain. But then it cleared just enough. A male voice, desperate, hoarse. I don't know where I am. I think I've been routed inside. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to charge my phone. I delivered something. It wasn't food. It talked to me. It knew things about me that no one should. It cried when I handed it over. Now they're rerouting me. There's no exits anymore. Every address loops. Every house breathes. I don't think I'm supposed to leave, but there's a way out. I heard a code from the inside. It's a back door, a failsafe. You have to. The message glitched. Deliver to node
0, the root, or they'll replace you. The audio cut out. The screen glitched once more, then rebooted on its own. The app reappeared. Same layout, same black background. But now a new message scrolled across the top. You have been selected to deliver to Node 00, Route 6 of 7. High priority extraction, one-time access granted. Underneath it, location unknown. Coordinates, redacted instructions. Follow the voices. Do not trust what looks familiar. Node 0. I didn't want to go.
I didn't want to get back in the car, but I couldn't ignore it. Something inside me, whether curiosity, guilt, or something implanted in my code the first night, obeyed. The route didn't appear on GPS. Instead, I followed sound, literally. The phone speaker played a single tone, high-pitched, rising in frequency whenever I turned the wrong direction, lowering when I was on the right path. A horrifying auditory compass. The world changed around me the deeper I drove. Roads stretched longer than they should. Buildings became shadows, silhouettes without detail, and the stars above. They began to move, spinning in unnatural patterns. And then I saw it. The root node 0 wasn't a place. It was a hole in reality. A pit, bottomless black humming with ancient sound. The ground around it pulsed like a heartbeat. Floating above it were shards of time, flickers of past deliveries, frozen mid-motion like insects in amber. One showed me myself handing a bag to Mira. Another showed Marcus being dragged into the gas station floor by an invisible force. And another showed me still in my apartment, asleep. This version of me had never left the bed, never answered the app, never delivered anything. He looked peaceful, alive. The offer shape rose from the pit, not fast, not threatening, more like it was assembling itself. A mouth formed first, then a voice, not male, not female, just commanding. You have seen enough. You know what you are now. I stepped closer. My breath crystallized in the air. Then tell me, I said. What am I? A courier, a carrier of consequence. You don't deliver food, you deliver permission. You open the door between what is and what waits. Most couriers don't survive Route 6. They don't ask. They only obey. I swallowed. And if I say no, then we send someone else. But you get to make a choice. The voice paused. Replace the one who broke the system. A shimmering figure rose beside the pit-broken, twitching eyes wide in horror. It was Marcus, still alive, barely. Take his place. Free him or leave. Let him rot in the roots forever. But know this, if you leave, someone else takes your seat. Someone you know, someone you love. I made the delivery. I walked forward. The pit opened. I knelt, placed the cursed phone, onto the black surface. It was swallowed without sound. Marcus screamed. The voice sighed in satisfaction. Accepted. Transfer complete. Marcus collapsed. The world reset. Waking up, I woke up in my bed, my apartment intact, sunlight streaming through the window. My phone buzzed once. Normal apps. No DineNow, no Route 6, no black screens, but on my nightstand, neatly folded, A delivery jacket, black, sleek, branded with a logo I had never seen before. A single note sat on top. Handwritten, 1 more to go. Route 7 unlocks at midnight. Then you'll be free. Or someone else will. Midnight, Route 7 unlocks. The clock struck 12:04 a.m. My phone clean factory reset untainted, lit up on its own. No ringtone, no vibration, just a message. Route 7's final delivery destination. The origin point instructions. Do not bring your name. Do not carry memory. Deliver and be released. The screen blinked once, then went black, but the message burned into my mind like an infection. This is where it all began. This is where it all ends. The origin point, I didn't drive this time. I walked. The city was wrong. Streets twisted into each other. Cars hovered inches above the ground, unmoving. Street lamps blinked like eyelids. Every reflection showed a different version of me, older, scarred, smiling when I wasn't. The origin point wasn't a house. It was a mirror, 7 feet tall, framed in bone, floating in the center of an empty lot where no GPS signal had ever existed. The mirror rippled and spoke, "You are the last courier, the one who made it to the end. You have brought the echoes of all routes. Now deliver what you truly carry." My hands were empty, but something heavy pressed into my chest. Not an object, a name, the real package. Every delivery I thought I was carrying food, or strange cargo, or souls, but I was wrong. The real package was me, or more precisely, my identity, my memory, myself. The app had been slowly slicing away at it, with each route like carving a statue out of flesh. And now it was time to hand it over, to become the new origin point, to replace what I once passed through, the choice. But then something happened. The mirror cracked. A second reflection appeared behind me. It was Marcus, but not broken, not dying, stronger, whole. He held out the old phone, blackened, silent. But then he whispered, "We don't have to end it this way. There's another route, one they never programmed. One final delivery to burn the system." He dropped the phone into my hands. It flared once and showed a new route. Route null end. The loopy warning irreversible. The final step. I turned to the mirror. It shimmered, waiting. I turned to Marcus. He nodded. I opened the app, pressed accept, and the world began to collapse. System collapse. The city folded into itself like burning paper. Delivery bags disintegrated. Customer profiles screamed and vanished. The DineNow app pixelated code unraveling line by line. A message blinked on the dying screen. You were never supposed to see this. You were never supposed to remember. You were supposed to be a courier. You became a weapon. One last transmission. As the system died, a final transmission broadcast through every abandoned phone, every broken GPS, every haunted map. To the next one who picks up the phone, you will be told you're just a delivery driver. You will be told there are 7 routes. You will think the tip is worth it. You will think the story is fiction. But the final route is always the same. It ends with you. Epilogue. The app is gone. The phone melted in my hands. But sometimes when I walk past alleys at night, I hear the soft jingle of a courier bag's zipper. And in puddles, I don't see my reflection anymore. Just a man in black, smiling, holding something behind his back. And every night I get a little closer to remembering what it is. End.